Get this figure and more at the Big Bad Toy Store. Links in the description. Hey, my name is Jobby, and today we're taking a look at the Bandai Tamashii Mix MechaGodzilla Ohrai Noriyoshi Poster. If that string of words didn't make sense to you, welcome to my goddamn life. And many of you might be wondering, where the hell have I been these past few weeks? Who is MechaGodzilla? Chances are if you click the thumbnail, you already know who the hell MechaGodzilla is, but for those of you who don't know, MechaGodzilla is Godzilla, but a mechanical version. I might as well end the channel at this point. As for the other question, which was basically,
why are you running? Why are you running?
I just needed a bit of time to myself, to think, to reevaluate what even am I doing with my life. But honestly though, I just felt really creatively drained. I was getting burned out, and I just needed time to recharge. I drew a couple of things, some questionable fan art, but I'm back, and hopefully your patience has been rewarded.
Get the fuck over yourself, you have
Let me get back on track. Ohrai Noriyoshi, rest in peace, was an illustrator that created some fantastic pieces of art, among them some posters for various Godzilla movies that I've never watched. This poster for the 1993 film Godzilla vs. MechaGodzilla 2 features an unused concept for MechaGodzilla, which brings us to these three pieces of overpriced metal. So out of the box, of course, MechaGodzilla comes disassembled into three different components. You get Naga, Gunn Naga, and Garuda. And we'll take a look at Garuda first because fuck off. The painting and the sculpting on this figure is awesome. Now this is a very strange looking jet to be sure. It almost looks like some kind of robotic dragon, what with the rows of spikes, a long body, and a straight up Godzilla tail. They really didn't try to hide this, did they? And goddamn, this wingspan is longer than the list of my problems. And trust me, I have a lot of problems. Listen, if you want a serious response to that comment, check out a recent video that PewDiePie did. Out of all people, PewDiePie pretty much summed up my feelings into words, so. And yeah, I just shouted out PewDiePie, king of YouTube. Here, my lord, take this insignificant traffic and put it in your hand. So the painting on this figure is a delicious metallic silver, and that paint job is also deceptively detailed. I mean, it looks like a plain silver at first glance, but when you take a closer look at it, you can see there's some details that wouldn't be on a cheaper figure. But the real question is it worth it? So with a price point like that, you really don't want to handle this thing like a caveman. But on the off chance that you do, you stupid piece of shit, you don't really have to worry, because the paint job here is surprisingly durable. Within reason, obviously. I mean, it's obvious that the figure is not designed for rough and tumble play, because these things are absolutely... It's actually pretty sharp. Any edges that look remotely pointy on this figure and on the entire set, honestly, has the potential to cause you some serious grief. But if that's what you want, I'm not gonna stop you. Except for this bit, which is strangely the only part of the figure that's made out of a softer plastic. Thanks, I guess. Now, I've read some rumblings on various comment sections about this particular figure being the most fragile out of the set, but in my experience, for the few weeks that I've had this thing, again, sorry for the delay, I haven't had any incidents so far. The figure is fairly well put together, nothing has broken so far, but this tail not locking in or anything like that does kind of get annoying. And it kind of ruins the illusion of this thing being an actual functioning vehicle. That break of the illusion is especially noticeable when you flip the thing over and oh my god. I mean, what are even these things if not kibble? And for those of you not into Transformers, kibble is just the term to refer to parts of an alternate mode that ruins the illusion of that alternate mode. That was the worst way of explaining it, I'm sorry, just read the TF wiki please. But the head tucks pretty neatly into this crevice here, but it doesn't snap in at all. But I don't think I'll ever get used to these stupid titty parts. Couldn't they just have folded in one more time? Most of you reasonable people out there probably wouldn't even care for this. Look, I have problems, okay? And to be fair, this seems to be completely accurate to the concept art drawn for the original 1993 film. And I actually had to give big props to the designers for that. There's no landing gear to be seen on this guy, so if you just plop it on the ground, it kind of looks like poop. But as you've seen throughout the review, you do get a stand that just pops in real nicely. There it goes. At first it was kind of tough to pop it in there, but with enough use, it gets pretty loose. Sexual innuendo. Once you do get it up in the air and ignore that questionable undercarriage, Garuda looks fantastic. And honestly, Garuda is the best looking vehicle out of the whole set, because Naga is literally just a pair of legs. The painting and sculpting on Naga is pretty good, but the fact that these legs are so obvious is a little bit distracting. And it definitely doesn't help that, again, nothing snaps in at all. So you're just left with this little jig here. To the figure's credit, it has some fantastic mechanical detail, and these little spherical cannons can move around. But if we're talking about the weapons here, the main cannon is the best part. And not only because it's the only part of the vehicle that can do this, it just has an awesomely retro design, and that yellow paint just pops. out the cannon, along with this disgusting excuse for a cockpit, makes this thing actually look like a functioning vehicle. It helps that the figure has a set of multiple rollable wheels, but they only roll if you align the legs properly, and because nothing snaps into place, that's kind of I want to die. But if you do manage to get them in position, and just like Garuda, I can excuse the imperfections because it is fairly accurate to the original concept art. Again, big props for that. Naga's gotta be my second favorite because the last vehicle of the set, it's something else. I mean, the painting and sculpting on Gundalva is not the worst, but compared to the other two vehicles, this is just pathetic. It barely passes as a vehicle, with an almost unnoticeable cockpit, non-functioning treads, and a pair of oversized cannons that are quite obviously arms. I guess this is supposed to be some kind of tank, but that's some grade A bullshit. But again, just like the other two vehicles, the mechanical detail is top-notch. And to be honest, the incredibly tiny size of this thing makes it somewhat adorable. And just like Naga, a significant portion of this figure does not snap in place. These flaps on the side, they're just there. They don't fold up any more than that, and for swivel's sake. Now, I've actually forgiven the other two vehicles because of how accurate they were to their concept art. But this, not even close. Now, all of these figures have some die-cast metal in them, and that gives all of them pretty good heft. And of course, I found all the die-cast metal parts using my cold touch technique. Naga and Gundalva are almost completely cold, which is awesome. And to give you an idea of how small these guys actually are, let's do some size comparisons. Here's Figma Motic Academy, SH Monster Arts Godzilla, SH Monster Arts Godzilla 1995 version, and Masterpiece Optimus Prime. I mean, I would compare them to all of my Godzilla figures, but that would be a chore at this point. So as a set of figures, this trio is honestly not the strongest. All of them just look and feel like smaller pieces of a larger whole, which of course, that's exactly what they are. But before we get into the main event, I gotta show you something that justifies Gundalva's sad existence. And here we have a combination of Naga and Gundalva. I guess we could call it Gunn Naga. And this thing actually looks pretty dang cool. It doesn't fix the fact that Naga looks like a pair of legs, but it does fix the fact that Gundalva's a piece of shit. I mean, this pathetic excuse for a vehicle works way better as a cannon upgrade for Naga. And Gunn Naga is all good until you squint just a bit. Then you realize that this is just a headless MechaGodzilla doing sit-ups. So let's get Garuda up in here and move on. And here we have the actual MechaGodzilla Ohrai Noriyoshi Poster version. This thing looks amazing. This has got to be one of the best designs for MechaGodzilla, and it's a damn shame that it hasn't appeared in a movie yet. It's the perfect combination, no pun intended, of the original MechaGodzilla and some modern design sensibilities. Giving MechaGodzilla a pair of awesome wings is just... Fuck. And these shoulder thingies are not too bad either, even though they technically are kibble. But the kibble justifies itself somewhat because there's actually some new detail revealed in here. And on the topic of detail, just beautiful mechanical detail all throughout the whole figure. And as for that head sculpt, you guys mind if I give it another one of... Yeah! Such a great head sculpt, and it's way better than the lumpy doofball we got in the actual movie. Now, it's undeniable that this figure looks amazing, but the feel of the figure doesn't quite match up to its looks. Yeah, these components fit together pretty nicely, but these legs are still annoyingly loose. That makes standing up the figure just a bit of a pain. Okay, maybe more than a bit. Doesn't help at all that these wheels on his feet are still rollable. Couldn't they just have flipped up or something? Fuck! Also, these ankle guards are the worst thing ever. Forget about them. So those wheels at the feet just make the figure feel slippery. Yippee. At least all of the die-cast metal from all of the components makes this figure satisfyingly heavy. And I gotta tell you right now, according to my Kota technique, almost all of the figure is die-cast metal. But let's get into my major issue with the figure. He's not that posable. But let's give the devil his due. The figure does have a swivel at the head, ball joint at the neck, head can move up and down, the mouth barely opens, rotation at the shoulder, arm moves out, bicep swivel, double bend at the elbow, wrist swivel, that's limited by these wires, a slide up and down, wings can move up, got a hinge here, and no waist swivel. What? Now hold on here. Didn't Naga have a swivel here at the main cannon? Why didn't they design the figure in a way that swivel carries over into this mode? I just can't fathom how they could waste the perfectly good... At this moment, I have no love in my heart. And no, there's absolutely no way that you could get a waist swivel out of this guy, because Garuda here locks everything into place, so... Fuck you. I suppose the only thing I can do after that great injustice is rotation at the hips. I can move back that far. I already mentioned it before, but beautiful, which gives us access to... The legs can extend somewhat. Thigh swivel? Maybe no. And at the knee, which sounds like it should be nice and tight due to that beautiful ratchet. But no, just hate. I just feel hate right now. Foot can move up and down. Toe bend, I guess. Yeah, that counts. And just the faintest ghost of a pivot. Also, the tail has a ball joint, ball joint, ball joint, ball joint, but that's not quite enough to get some super dynamic tail poses. It can barely move side to side. And dynamic posing is something that you can completely eject out of your thought hole, and that's actually something I wrote down. What the fuck? You're just not gonna get many poses out of this guy. But what you can get is not the worst, at least after you've dealt with the fucking standing piece of... But hey, at least you can display him in a flying pose. Size comparisons. MechaGodzilla Prime and Godzilla again. You know, there's actually a repaint of this figure that's based on the same Ohrai Noriyoshi poster that this guy comes from, and I have no further comment. I just thought it was cool to share. Overall, this figure's awesome. But it doesn't deserve the double kiss, so ironically, little MechaGodzilla doesn't get any action. But if you're still sold on this admittedly fantastic concept, be my guest and pick one up for yourself at the Big Bag! Yes, that is quite the spicy meatball. But on looks alone, this might be an appropriate price for the figure. Whether or not you're willing to pay that price, that's completely up to you. And may God have mercy on your wallet. Or Satan, I'm not gonna judge. I forgot to mention that the set includes one of those newfangled mangoes that the kids are talking about nowadays. And I would tell you what it's about, but unfortunately it's in Nihongo. This manga's not even worth reading anyway. Where's the tits?